Bob, as far as the pensions go, obviously talking about money, that's a big, big item. You have people who've worked in city government all their lives, and they pay in. I'm not sure everybody understands that, the workers have been paying in every paycheck anywhere from 8, 10, 12% of that paycheck into the pension fund since the time they started working. So I think sometimes people perceive it's just some kind of a bonus that people get when they retire. But where are you going to raise the money to make sure that those people are secure who put in 20, 30, 40 years working for the city?
Well, Jim, you raised a great question. First of all, and I'm going to tell you on a couple of fronts. Don't forget that people who work for the city do not have the opportunity to participate in Social Security. So they're out of luck there. They don't have that ability. They don't receive Social Security. And yes, we hear the abuses in the system from the former mayor on down to some union leaders who are making, and of course some politicians who are making high pension receivables. But at the same time, how do we fix this? One, we have to look at squeezing the TIFs and surplusing them where we can to bring in money back into our system, and it should be dedicated towards our pensions. Secondly, I do believe a full audit of our budget can produce an additional revenue of maybe another $100 million. If I'm going back on the TIFs, that would be about 200. So we're talking 300 right there. We need to look at maybe a commuter tax, 1% tax, coupled with a very limited period of time, coupled with a pension obligation bond that would fully fund our first responders, our police and our fire, so they have the opportunity there. That's what we're looking at. That payment comes due January 1st of next year, and I've said we need to look at every source of revenue, put it on the table. Property taxes are off the table. We've got to quit these fees, fines, and forfeitures that are affecting everybody at this point, and that's how we're going to go about funding our pension liabilities right now.
I would actually say it's oppressing everybody. It's sort of like, they're looking to get you at every possible venture they can. This is about Rahm not acting as a human being interactively with the people of the city. I mean, anytime I get into a car, I've got to worry about the red light camera, the speed zone camera for the park where nobody crosses anyway. I mean, this is basically, this is a little too big brotherish for me. It's just too much, and it's time for it to stop.
On the night of the CBS debate, there was one of the folks that works there came up to me and said, I don't come into the city really anymore for their nightlife. And he was a suburban, lived in the suburbs, and said to me, we get a ticket, and sometimes we don't even find out about it until 7-8 days later, and the fine is already doubled, and I have no way to challenge it. My wife and I, and he said his friends, just quit coming downtown. That says something here on what's happening. It's about the quality of life and how we improve it. And the mayor in one of the debates said, he's improved the quality of life of everybody. Well, no, he hasn't. In fact, again, going back to what I said, I don't hear people saying, I love living in the city of Chicago. It's a great place to be. We don't hear how much they enjoy the city because the quality of life is, especially under the last 4 years have gone down under this administration.
And Bob, what do you say here? We're a little more than a week out from the election. What do you say to motivate people to get out to vote? Because, if we have a day like today with snow all over the place, it's not going to be easy for people to look out their window and say, gee, I need to get to that polling place and cast a vote. What's in it for the average Chicagoan to make sure they vote?
Well, Jim, that's a great question, too. But what I'm finding where I go, people believe in the message that I am saying. And people have said to me, they're going to come out and vote. I was on the north side yesterday, most of the day. I was in and around the airport, and it was a swell of support that you don't hear and you don't see in the polls. People are telling me that they want me. I'm fighting for our city workers. I'm fighting for our workers here in this city. I believe I have the teachers, the fire, the police, streets and sand workers across the board that believe that they want to change. And they've seen with the last, not only the last 4 years where things have been accelerated, but in the last 25 years of what's happened under this, that the rich keep getting richer, and everyone else is left out of this system. And, it's time. We have so many contracts out there, so many ways. We should really open it up for everyone in this city.
I fully agree. At this point, we know you're getting close to your next stop, and we're getting close to our next guest. So I want to thank you very much, Alderman Bob Fioretti, candidate
Thanks. It
for
was
mayor
great
of the
to
city
be
of
here,
Chicago.
and especially on a Sunday morning. And good thing I found the time in between churches. And thank everybody for being listening to your show. And remember, vote on February 24th. Punch 3 for me. So there we go.
Punch 3 for Bob Fioretti on Election Day, February 24th. Thank you so much for calling in.
Thank you, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you. What do you think?
Well, again, I think turnout is the key. Are people, looking at this as some sort of referendum on the future and on all these issues? I think everybody's in agreement. There are tons of major issues that have to be resolved in the coming 4 years by someone. And the question is going to be, who's that going to be, and what is the approach going to be?
No, that's definitely true. You know what? Let's while we have time, let's talk about some of the Aldermanic races.
Yes. Are there any that you wanted to?
Well, let's start numerically. Second ward.
Second ward. Second ward.
There's
6 people running in that ward.
This is Alderman Fioretti's previous ward.
Kinda. It's got the same number, but the ward actually bears no resemblance to the old
They
second ward.
gerrymandered it to get him out of there.
Yeah, I mean, basically, the old second ward is no closer than about 2 miles from the boundaries of the new second ward. So other than the number, there's nothing else the same. But it's a very interesting ward. It kind of loops around, kind of a horseshoe. You get you're going east into part of the Lincoln Park area, and then you come up around Wicker Park, Bucktown, some of that. It's a very, it's kind of all the parts that didn't fit somewhere else kind of got strung together there, which means there's a great deal of diversity there. And there are a number of people running. You and I are both familiar with one, Cornell Wilson.
I'm a big fan of Cornell Wilson. He's an extremely impressive individual. He's a former Marine captain who served overseas. He is polished. He is professional. Of all the candidates that I interviewed this election, I probably was more impressed with him than any of the other newcomers.
Yeah, he's as you mentioned, he served 8 years in the Marine Corps. He came back here, got a law degree at Northwestern, was practicing with a large firm downtown, and decided, besides the service he had given our country, he wanted to be in local public service. And I full disclosure, I had done his petitions and represented his campaign. And I remember telling him the first day to file, as long as you're in line by 8 o'clock, that's plenty of time to get a ticket. You don't have to get there too early and try to get the first place in line, because the way it works, everybody who's in line gets a ticket, and then there's a lottery for the top ballot position. And I got there. I always go down to kind of see a lot of the people that I know standing in line. And I got there that morning, and Cornell was very near the front, probably 2 or 3 from the front. And I said, I told you didn't have to get here till like 8. What time do you get here? He said, I was here at 5:30 this morning.
Wow.
And I said, Cornell, I told you specifically you didn't have to get up that early. He said, Jim, Marine time.
He's got some really good support. He's got Jesse White behind him, and he's got my favorite campaign manager. No offense to everybody else. I mean, there's a lot of you guys I like, but Sean Tenner, KNI Communications, he is so creative in what he does. He is so good at what he does. Not to mention, I love all his anti-slavery stuff. But no, I'm serious. He really does Sudanese relief, Ethiopian relief. People don't realize, we're talking Chicago, so we're not going to get into the slavery. But he has singled out Cornell of all the different races to get behind, and that says a lot for Cornell too.
Well, yeah, I mean, Sean's a very, very successful political consultant. He's as you said, he's very innovative. He's earned a national reputation for some of the things he's come up with to make sure candidates get their message out. And as you pointed out, he's very, very much behind and putting together the campaign for Cornell in that ward. So that'll be an interesting ward. And there's 50 wards. There's about 4 or 5 that aldermen are running unopposed, but other than that, there's races everywhere else. The northwest side, the 39th ward, which borders the 50th ward, the 49th ward. Don Gordon is running again against Joe Moore.
Yeah, now, it's interesting because Don Gordon refuses to raise any money.
Yeah, and you know what? You have to give Joe Moore credit. He's picked up new parts of the ward, and what I've seen is he picked up parts that used to be, say, in the 40th ward, and with the remap now in 49. And you got to give him credit. He's been out in those parts of the ward, really re-engaging with those people. Some of those people had been in his ward 10 years ago. And he's really raised his profile, and in terms of getting out there and hitting the street and talking to people, I've been very impressed with what he's done, particularly in welcoming back kind of some of the areas that had been gone from his ward.
Yeah, he is very proactive with the community. He's very interactive. He sends out regular emails, where he's going to be. He goes on Friday, he visits various neighborhood businesses, either for a beer or a quick nosh or something like that. And he lets everybody know where he's going to be. Of course, he is the creator of the
participatory budgeting.
Right.
Yes.
And he's actually, it's such a popular thing, not just in this city now, but nation and worldwide. He has lectured at Harvard. He's been asked to go overseas and lecture on the subject. And, I really think he's really turned it around, because everybody thought he was dead meat last time around. And, he has I think, as a matter of fact, I wrote in Jewish Chicago, and he even liked it enough that he picked it up and sent the quote out. By the way, check me out on Twitter, Avi Myers, not to mention Facebook. And I really like how much I'm getting retweeted for all my stuff this year.
Well, and it is good to remind people, besides the hard copy, the old school paper copy that you can pick up in a lot of different places, although they're going very fast, you can always go online and see a complete copy of the paper at aviworld.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. I'm glad you said that. I appreciate that. I want to also, brush on the 42nd ward, where you've got Michelle Smith, the incumbent. 43rd, I'm sorry. 42nd is unopposed. That's okay. But in the 43rd ward, you've got Michelle Smith, who's the incumbent, and in my mind, the only good Jewish alderwoman in the city of Chicago. And I really like her. She's got a tough challenger. It's a tough campaign. And
well, one of the candidates running against her is somebody that we both know, Caroline Vickery, who actually grew up in Rogers Park. So there's a Rogers Park connection to that 43rd ward race.
And I give her credit. She's an impressive person.
Yeah, she's an attorney and a mom, and she's been very active with the local school councils there. And as I said, she give a shout out to another Estes Eagle.
In any event, whatchamacallit, I personally, I'm prejudiced to the Jewish thing, but I like Michelle, and I want to wish her well. And
yeah.
So anyway, don't forget Jim Nally, election lawyer extraordinaire, and Jewish Chicago. Thanks for the plug for it, and that I appreciate. There's a number of other races, and we're not going to be able to touch on every single race. I mean, we've mentioned some of them, and but of course, my home base is the 50th ward. And I have taken very strong stands in the past, and I live in West Rogers Park. It consists of West Rogers Park and Peterson Park, and we are pleased to have on the line right now the leading challenger in the 50th ward race, and I always say this a little bit wrong, but I'm going to try. Shajan Kuriakose. How you doing?
Good morning, Avi. How are you?
Good. Thank you so much for joining us. I know you wanted to make it in person, but this is actually live, people. So this is a snowy, almost white-out condition day. And I know you were making the rounds at the churches too, and you even, it was a good day for you.
Yeah, it was. It's been a great week for us. We started off with the endorsement of Jewish Chicago, Northtown News Magazine. Coming from you primarily, which is awesome. It was a great start for us. We ended up ending the week out with a endorsement from the Chicago Tribune. They validated our campaign, and they believe in our message. They believe in my ideas. They know that I have the energy to get things done in the 50th Ward, and I would be the better choice going forward. That evening, we also got endorsed by Northside DFA, and we had a couple other organizations, which is the SEIU's Asian American Caucus. They endorsed us as well.
That's terrific, and I'm glad to see the numbers growing. I was especially pleased about the Tribune and how the Tribune read the problem that we have very unenergetic leadership in the 50th Ward right now. And that's putting it mildly.
And I wanted to touch on that real quick because I know 4 years ago, and I think it was on your show, now Alderman Silverstein said that, she wanted to put the 50th Ward on the map. And quite honestly, she's put it into obscurity. And that's the way everyone looks at it. It's been very difficult to get coverage, on the race in general from the media. We haven't had, our ward isn't where it should be. She calls it diamond in the rough, and it's not. It's a beautiful, vibrant, cultured community where, everyone does get along. And, we need to better showcase our ward. We need to make sure that we're bringing businesses into our ward, bringing tourists into our ward, and letting people know that we're there. And I want to be the guy. I think I've said this over and over again. I want to be the guy to make that happen. I want to address the issues in City Hall so that we're not a rubber stamp city council. I want to make sure that we're fighting for the residents so our kids have good educations. I want to make sure our streets are safe. And I also want to make sure that our residents and our families have a place to go versus going, I'm sorry to say it, but going to Skokie, Lincolnwood, and Evanston, which is what they're doing now.
And there's construction going on there like crazy. And by the way, in terms of highlighting our ward, she shouldn't really have any problem. There's so many vacant storefronts, even on her most favorite Chewy Avenue near her house, that are vacant. You could put signs in there like crazy promoting the area because nobody's moving in.
Yeah, and that's what we need to change. We've talked to several of the business leaders and the community leaders here and the residents, and we've talked about some of our ideas, and it was so funny because there was a young family that we spoke to. I think it was on Sherwin. Yeah, it was on Sherwin, a young family. And, we talked about the idea of a kosher yogurt bar. And the little kid, the children who had to be, 10 or under, they were so excited because they loved yogurt. And they're like, oh, great, that'd be awesome. It's those types of ideas that'll cater to the families. If we brought, why haven't we brought a 5K into the 50th Ward? Why haven't we brought any type of festival or a taste of West Rogers Park? We used to do it before, and, we don't have it now. Again, we need to make sure that people know that we're there. And it can't just be because of Devon Avenue. It's got to be because the ward in general is a vibrant and colorful community.
And there is what to offer if it was packaged properly. I mean, anything that's actually happened that's been positive, which isn't anywhere near enough, was actually, done years ago. Well,
not only that, Avi, it's also been done by people like you. I mean, you work with the CAPS program. You've done these safety seminars. It's leadership, right? We talk about leadership and people actually taking the step forward to say, I'm going to do something because someone else isn't. In this instance, the alderman has not taken the leadership role to say, we're going to do this stuff to bring businesses in here, bring residents together, or bring tourists here to the ward. We have great we have, not great, but we have good expos in the city of Chicago and the surrounding areas. There was a time I remember that there would be people in buses, coach buses, coming to Devon Avenue, shopping, and then leaving. And again, we don't see that anymore. It's rarely seen right now in our ward, but other communities have it. And, what we need to do is get back to that era or that time where, people were coming into the ward, seeing what we had to offer, knowing that we're there, and again, just having something showcased, and again, I want to be that guy. I want to get that message out there. I'm ready to go, day one, boots on the ground, sleeves rolled up. I don't plan on sitting behind a desk. I want to make sure that I'm out there so people know me, people know that we have great things in the 50th Ward. One of the ideas I'd love to do is something like Alderman Moore does, which is the Follow Me Friday. We'll pick a different day, and just let people know that there's certain businesses out there, come in, patronize our businesses, check out what we have to offer. I want to be the person to let people know that those opportunities are out there, or those types of services, eateries are available.
You know, one of the problems right now with the president, well, there's a lot of problems, and one thing, and I don't want to mention any names here because frankly, to say she's vindictive is putting it mildly. But there are a large number of police, fire, other people in the ward are so fed up and don't want to deal with her. And when I've called downtown and I mention her name, people are, they are shocked at how unworkable she is. She's difficult to work with. She dictates at people. She has no prior experience. I mean, before she was alderman, she was an accountant for a Northbrook accounting firm and did nursing home real estate taxes. That's basically the level of her public involvement before she became alderman. When Indian Boundary Park Zoo was closed, she didn't fight for the community that wanted to stand up and fight. She announced to everybody, well, the park district's closing it. That's, she takes orders. She doesn't listen. She does not interact with the people whatsoever. And on the rare occasions, if you've seen her in public, or want to watch the interview we ran 4 years ago, she's clueless. And she hasn't come through on anything either.
Yeah. And she's very well known to a lot of people in the community as the 5-minute alderman. She comes in for 5 minutes, says hi, and then leaves. I mean, we need to have someone that's going to be more engaged, going to be able to sit down and listen to what people have to say. And let's be honest, let's put it out there right now. The answer might not always, it's not always going to be, yeah, we can get this done for you, but at least we should be able to have leadership in representing our community or our ward to say, you know what, I did look into this. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to get it done, but these are the reasons why. Instead of just saying flat out no. I think if we do a better job of explaining ourselves to the residents, explaining ourselves, to why we make decisions or why decisions are made, we get a better response. We get, it shows that we're engaged, and it also makes it important. It also makes it important for the residents to then be engaged. And that's where we lack. I've always said I want to have a zoning advisory board. I want to let the residents know that this is what we're going to do, or this is what we have going on. I want to have ward nights. I want to have a ward council at some point. I want to make sure that we are engaging the residents of the 50th ward. We are engaging the business owners. We're engaging the police community to say these are our concerns. Please hear us, and please help us address these concerns.
Even though she is Jewish, she has done very little to help the Jewish community. And the fact is, you as an Indian Christian have actually been meeting with as many Jewish leaders as you possibly can, and are getting a decent amount of support here.
Yes, I am. Again, I think I really feel with the endorsement from Jewish Chicago this past week, that also gave me a big, huge bump within the community. I've talked to several community leaders and business leaders in the 50th ward, and when I had mentioned that, they're like, it was a shock one, but it was also a smile that came with it, saying that we're behind you. We like your message. We like what you have to say. We want to see our community grow. We want to, because one of the leaders that I spoke with had said it best. He said, "We've moved from the south side. We've moved from the west side. We're in West Rogers Park right now. We're in Peterson Park, and we're not going anywhere." And I strongly believe that if there's going to be a community base here, then we need to be able to provide services and resources around them so that they can thrive long term.
During her reign of terror, we've seen things like New York Kosher, which was the standard bearing business in the neighborhood. A business, she made them tear down their landmark sign that was considered valuable enough that it actually went to the leading museum for signs in the country. She made them tear it down. It cost them business. She kept sending inspectors over there like there was no tomorrow because he had put his name on a piece of Bernie Stone literature. He was one of 300 supporters. He had she's done this to other businesses too. He closed up a 65-year-old business under the reign of terror of Deborah Silverstein. She is not good for the Jewish community. And as a Jewish person, I usually like to endorse Jewish people in my publications and on the show. But you know what? They got to be good ones. You don't get an automatic pass because you're Jewish. if an Indian Christian like Shajan Kuriakose, I'll get it right one of these years, you know, is better for the Jewish community right now and having more interaction with them in a positive manner, you know, than she's had in the last 4 years.
Yeah, and you brought up another really good point, is the sense of fear and the sense of retribution if people support someone else. And, you know, I've said it over and over again. I am, you know, whether you supported me or not openly or behind closed doors or whatever it was, I am ready and willing to work with everyone in this community, because it's not going to be about me. It's going to be about what's best for our ward. I want to make sure that we have representation for every group, ethnic group, religious group, to make sure that, you know, the issues are heard, you know, their voices are heard. That's what I want to be there for. I want to be the inclusive alderman. I don't want to be the exclusive alderman.
No, there's no question about it. And the fact is, your popularity is definitely rising. I know polls show that her approval rating is lower than Obama's, and that's saying a lot. So she's not a popular person, and not within the Jewish community. And people need to realize, too, that she did not win the Jewish vote last time. I can't walk into a synagogue without hearing complaints about our not just the, you know, it's do nothing for the benefit of the community, other than maybe sending in a state inspector to put the fear of Silverstein in them.
Yeah, no, that's not what we need. We need true leadership who's going to work for the entire community. That's what we do need.
No, there's no question about it. And at this point, why don't you give us your website?
Sure. It's Friends of Shajan, SHAJAN, friendsofshajan.com, and I ask everyone on February 24th, or even with early voting, to punch 52.
Punch 52. Shajan Kuriakose, endorsed by Jewish Chicago, endorsed by the Northtown News Magazine, being embraced by a larger number of people within the Jewish community. Somebody who will make the West Rogers Park, Peterson area a better place to live for the entire community, as well as the Jewish community. And I want to point out, too, while I got you on, her literature is such a lie. I mean, she did everything she could to thwart that public school, and you know, on Whipple, and she's taking credit for it now. She tried to race bait the whole community against it. In any event, we're really running short on time here, but I want to thank you so much for taking out your time out of a busy day. I know you were honored today at your Indian Christian Church not too long ago, and you're also the best bet for the Jewish community in this race. Shajan Kuriakose, punch 52 on Election Day.
Thank you, Avi.
Thank you very much for calling in. And thank you, and God bless. I want to let all of you guys know, too, because you know what? I have not mentioned our crew today. So Sonny Hirsch, of course, is the official producer, and Keith McDonald does so much to help us out, and Tavares also. And I want to thank all of them. And I also want to thank my co-host, who you know, is off to other business now, Jim Nally, for joining me. Pick up Jewish Chicago. It's really gone from most of the newsstands now, but you can find it at aviworld.com, and that's A-V-Y. I mean, most people spell it A-V-I, but it's aviworld.com. And it's there in its entirety, ads and all. So to give you a brief rundown on who I'm backing, of course, in the 50th Ward is Shajan Kuriakose. In Ward 2, I'm big time behind Cornell Wilson. In the 43rd Ward, Alderman Michelle Smith has done a very good job for the community. In the 44th Ward, our first guest today, Mark Thomas, I think he's absolutely terrific. And I'm giving Joe Moore the nod in 49, of course, but he doesn't really have opposition, because if you're not willing to spend money, it just doesn't work out too well. So, you know, engage in early voting. This show's going to be up on YouTube within the next 24 hours or so. And check out the Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine every Thursday at 7:30, Friday at 2:30, right here on CAN TV 19 in Chicago. A thank you to Sonny Hirsch, a thank you to Keith, and a thank you to Tavares. And thank you so much for being here, everybody. We're so glad that you checked us out. And all the very best, and God bless. Bye-bye.